Good afternoon. The mothers of two London students denied bail after being charged with multiple offences in connection with a direct action protest at a Bristol weapons factory have told BBC London it's an unprecedented use of terror legislation. Their daughters were among 10 people arrested in August after the alleged incident at the Albert Systems UK premises. Albert supplies weapons to the Israeli military, but denies doing so from its Bristol site. The women were subsequently rearrested by counter-terror police, but not charged with any terror offences, and will remain in custody until their trial in a year's time. Anna O'Neill reports.
The idea of my daughter being branded a terrorist just fills me with horror.
When her daughter left the house last summer to go to what Clare thought was a protest, she had no idea that it would mean Zoe wouldn't be coming home.
The day of when she appeared in court, I will remember for the rest of my life, because I hadn't seen her for 7 days and I hadn't been able to speak to her.
Zoe had been arrested by counter-terror police for allegedly taking part in direct action at global Israeli defence firm Elbit UK near Bristol. She was charged with criminal damage, violent disorder and aggravated burglary, but not terror offences. But the Crown Prosecution Service said there might still be a terror link, which will be decided at her trial next year.
And the judge said no bail, and that memory will stay with me forever, because it was literally my child being taken away from me.
Hi Clare.
How are you? Thanks for coming.
Thank you for having me.
Also arrested and charged was Sukaina Rajwani's daughter Fatema Zainab. The two mums have been supporting each other.
The images and the stories started coming out of Gaza. It affected Fatema Zainab really, really deeply. She went on nearly all the marches, protests.
She was just so overwhelmed by the whole situation. She felt so powerless. And she said to me, "Mum, the marches aren't working, the government's not listening."
Some UK human rights organisations are concerned that the legal definition of terrorism is too wide and is being used to crack down on legitimate protest and free speech.
Protest is not a crime. Protest is a right.
What about direct action, though? That is a crime, some of it.
Yes, it is a crime. Of course it is. And if whether the crime you've committed is terror related, that's the question.
The independent reviewer of terrorism legislation, though, believes the law is being correctly used on the whole.
The key question is, what you absolutely need to show is that this is serious enough. So just gluing yourself to the road could never be terrorism. Holding a placard could never be terrorism unless you were supporting a terrorist organisation. It's got to be serious violence against people or serious damage against property. And it's a fair criticism that the authorities have got a huge amount of power in the context of terrorism. You asked me if they ask someone like me. They might do informally, but they don't have to. And this is just an operational decision.
Palestine Action told the BBC,
by misusing counter-terrorism powers against those who take direct action to shut Elbit down, the state is prioritising the interests of a foreign weapons manufacturer over the rights and freedoms of its own citizens.
Elbit Systems UK told the BBC it was proud to supply the British Armed Forces and said any claims that these facilities supply the Israeli military or Israeli Ministry of Defence are completely false. Meanwhile, being held without bail is having a devastating impact on the two young women whose university places are at stake.
I do believe that the counter-terrorism legislation was used to intimidate and scare them and used as an excuse to keep them for longer.
To be called a terrorist, that really disgusts me. It makes me very angry, and it worries me about the future of activists in this country and the expression of free speech.
Anna O'Neill, BBC London.